everyone, and welcome to the Biophotonics Discovery Podcast. Whether you're a seasoned researcher, a student just starting out, or you just love a good story about how light is used to solve big problems, this podcast is for you. We're making the discoveries in biophotonics accessible one episode at a time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Biophotonics Discovery, the podcast. I am your co-host, Gwen Wirtz, and this is part 2 of Darren Robilaire's interview with Dr. Anita Mahadevan-Jansen, the Orrin H. Ingram Professor of Biomedical Engineering at Vanderbilt University. In the first part of their conversation, they explored Anita's early life and her journey to translating the amazing near-infrared autofluorescence technology for parathyroid surgery. Today, in part 2, they pick up their discussion. Let's dive back in.
So I am not an easy person to work for.
Is that right?
I recognize that myself.
Okay. What do you mean?
I'm pretty demanding.
Okay.
I travel a lot, so I expect my students to take initiative, come to me, not be scared to come and talk to me when they have issues or challenges, but also be able to think things through. Critical thinking is something I'm really looking for, and the ability to, so just a little bit more self-confident, a little bit more mature, a little bit more willingness to work on their own.
Yeah.
But always come to me or others in the lab. So that's sort of what I look for.
They don't see that. It's hard to detect those features.
It is. I don't know that I always succeed.
Yeah.
But overall, I've done reasonably well. You know, I've got great students over the years.
I've met many of them in the last few days, and they are fantastic.
And so it's a process. You know, I've gotten more proactive about not just doing a 30-minute interview, which is what our recruitment weekend almost always ends up doing. But I've also built a community in my lab. It's everybody works with everybody else so that it's a collective decision recruitment. So I ask every one of my students to participate. I'm the only lab where every student is involved in all the social events, is asking questions, getting to know the students, to see who will be successful, who will work well in our team, but also who has what it takes to be successful in our lab. So it's a collective decision.
Okay. You're getting all of their feedback, integrating that and making decisions.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I probably rely on my gut a little bit
Sure.
too. You know, I think we all do. You know, I want to see what makes the student tick. I want to see that energy and excitement. I also, one of the other things I do that not a lot of labs do, I don't recruit to a project. So I don't say, this is the project I'm looking for. I say, these are the kinds of stuff I do. If you want to work with me, let's work together. And then I try to craft and design their project based on their interests, my needs, and their skills. So that it's PhD is hard. It's very, very difficult. And you have to love the project and be passionate about the project, not me or what I do, not be working for me in order to be able to keep through the failures that we all know we'll go through multiple times. And so that's something I really, really emphasize. And I think sometimes that throws students off because most faculty do recruit for specific projects. And so they do end up having a difficult time. Sometimes the uncertainty is difficult for students these days, I think, not knowing what they're going to work on, not having a plan.
Yeah.
I'm like, we'll work on the plan together. That's what I like. I want to find students for projects, and sometimes new projects come up because of that. And so, and then I tend to ask some random questions during my interview process. And one of the questions I'll ask them all is, what's the smallest hill you're willing to die on?
Okay. What does that mean?
Some small thing, it can be in personal life, professional life, whatever it is, that gets you so bad that you're willing to fight for it. It has to be something so inconsequential in other people's mind, but to you, it's critical.
What kind of answers do you get?
I get a lot of answers of being interrupted when you talk. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm guilty of that. I'm one of the first ones. You need to know how my family life was to understand why I interrupt a lot. You get something like people who say, a lot, for example. Somebody will say, and keep saying that. You'll get people who wear shoes that are inappropriate for a season. You'll get, like one of the things I will, it's not a hill I want to die on, but some people put 2 spaces after a period in sentences.
Yes.
I hate it.
Uh-huh.
But it's not something I want to die on, but it irritates me. I know some people have been taught that way.
Right.
And that's why they do it. But,
What about the Oxford comma? Is that a hill you're willing to die on?
The one I'm willing to die on, I will tell you, is lack of access labels.
Lack of access labels.
Access, in graphs.
Oh, yes.
Access.
Oh, yes. That's a hill
Or
I'm
even
willing to die on.
even worse, units on access label. They'll have an access without units.
And font sizes too, if you can't see
God.
it. Yes. Mm-hmm.
But the access labels, you know how many homework problems you get back from students without access labels on it? I'm like, you're an engineering student.
Mm-hmm.
That is a hill I will die on.
Sure.
I have had students get upset when I'm giving them a 0 for it.
But you didn't answer the Oxford comma question. What's your take? This is important stuff here.
Your definition of important is really strange, Darren. I don't know. I guess I'm willing to. I guess I'll take it either way. I'm not passionate about
Definitely
it one
not
way
a
or the
hill.
other. It's not a hill I'm willing to die on.
Okay. All right.
Depends on the circumstance and the student.
Okay. So I want to hear about how you think our community, so this is the biomedical optics, biophotonics community, has changed over time. From when you started, I think maybe when you started as a faculty member, how is the community different in terms of its size, in terms of what we work on? How has it evolved and matured? Can you tell me a little bit about what you think there?
Okay. In 1992, BIOS was and Photonics West was a very small conference. The exhibit hall was 10 tables.
Okay.
In a small room, not that much bigger than the studio.
Yeah.
And we have grown, as you've seen in recent times, to few hundred companies now at BIOS, and the number of papers. So that's we've grown. We've grown a tremendous amount, and the conference and the community has really grown in great ways for what we do. The other thing I will say, though, is despite our growth, we tend to, for the most part, all know each other and support each other. That's more than most of the communities that I am aware of. We are willing to help each other out, whether they're junior faculty or senior people. And I think that's what's made us all successful, when our most faculty were willing to come and help you out, and vice versa, right?
Has it always been that way?
It's always been that way.
Yeah.
Well, we've had a few interesting characters, senior faculty members, researchers who were known for their personality, let's just say. I have actually almost always gotten along really well with all of them. I had never really any issues, but that willingness to talk to a young student was there even then. Gordon Conference, which represents a lot of what our community is about, is where I learned to play tennis with Ken Gregory, pioneer in laser angioplasty, Sam Achillefu, molecular imaging, AJ Welsh, Brian Wilson. They were teaching me how to hit a tennis shot. I didn't know any tennis. I had taken a course in tennis at UT Austin. But at the same time, they're also coming and talking to you at the poster session and giving you personal critical feedback, right? We still have that for the most part. We don't have as many leaders in our community willing to throw out the tough questions.
Yeah, you do that.
I do that, but not as many people are asking questions that pointedly force you to think. I think, again, I go back to that critical thinking. Extremely more important for our success, I think, as a community, for all our researchers. And we don't have as many leaders in our field willing to do that.
Why do you think that is?
I think people are afraid to upset other people, perhaps. And I'm speculating here, right?
Yeah. That's probably not just our community.
No, but, our community is known for the closeness.
Yeah.
And so then it becomes, because we're known for being supportive, asking those questions implies that we're comfortable asking that questions, and we've gone away from that comfort. I believe in that very strongly.
Okay.
Even at Photonics West or any large conference, you hear clarification questions, not challenging questions.
Right.
I still remember, being asked during the days of prostate cancer and BPH surgery with lasers. And somebody was presenting, and there's this big discussion of how hot was hot enough. Why are you using that instead of this? Have you looked to see, is it hot enough? What does that mean? Those kinds of discussions are not happening at conferences anymore. And that bothers me.
Okay.
I would say, I don't know yet. If you ask me how to change that, I don't know that I know how to change that quite well. But I started something in my lab just last week. I said, we're going to have 10-minute presentations, but I'm going to ask everybody from the youngest student to the senior to learn the art of asking questions that are not just clarifying questions, but deep questions, even if it's not in your field. Don't be shy about it. Push them. Why did they do it that way? What was wrong with it? What made it work? It's important to ask that question. Even today in your seminar, you saw, you had mostly the more senior people ask questions.
Yep.
None of the students did. I'm like, this is your safest environment. You have a speaker in your home. You should be asking questions.
Okay, but tell people what your intentions are when you ask a tough question, right? Is this personal or not personal? And
none of it is personal, right? I mean, we want the science to be great. When I ask the tough questions, it's, have you thought through? Because I think it's extremely important when we're talking about translating something or even some of the basic sciences to ask ourselves the tough questions. And sometimes it doesn't always occur to us because we don't know enough.
Right.
I want to be asked the tough questions too. Like you asked me, what's the fluorophore? Why is it taking, you've been at it for more than a decade and a half and you still haven't figured out the fluorophore?
I didn't say it that way, but yeah.
But I know that's what you were thinking it, And it's a fair question. I don't know enough in this domain to be able to answer that question. But I also know that I need to go find out the people to help. When I ask the questions, I want them to come and ask me, okay, what are you thinking here? Let's take that through. Let's think it through and see how we can change that.
It's a way of having the community help you think, right? Make sure you don't have blind spots.
Exactly. And it's also a way for us to be able to translate those questions into reality of what really is. Working in biological systems is hard. There's no end of challenges, but we can't hide from it either. And that's the intent. The other intent is purely educational, being aware of what's been done in the past. We have a tendency to suffer from not looking at publications more than 10 years old. And more often than not, it's kind of like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. All that sci-fi stuff that's today's reality was yesterday's sci-fi. So looking in the past is actually helpful. We can learn from those lessons. And that's a big part of what I'm looking for, is I'm looking to encourage. And unfortunately, this is a personality trait, which is I tend to solve problems as an engineer. So I gravitate immediately to everything that's wrong with something and how I can make it better.
Right.
And I sometimes forget to say, all this other stuff is great, but let's gravitate towards that. And that's something I'm trying to work on, to show appreciation before asking the tough questions. But sometimes time's short and you just got to go to that important question. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a way for the person to be aware of all the nuances of what they're doing. And even if they answer back to me, oh, that's a great question, I need to go out here and think about it or talk to my advisor. We should be teaching our students just to say that.
Yeah.
If they don't know the answer.
The worst answer is, right, making something up.
Yeah.
That you're not sure
Absolutely.
about.
Or, I don't know. That's another one. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But that's not why we are here. So I do tend to ask, and you're right, and I don't know if that's a bad thing in our community, but I feel like somebody's got to step.
I like it too. Yeah.
Somebody's got to step up to be able to be critical about what we do. We don't need everybody getting a trophy.
Well, the other thing is, you don't want people in our community wasting their time, right? So if you have blind spots, you have to get rid of them and make sure you're working on something that can
absolutely
has the potential for impact, right?
When you think practically, you develop a technology and it doesn't work, technology A, and then you add technology B, and then you add technology C, and you go, what's the point?
Yeah.
You're never going to get there. A, B, C together is never going to get to clinical practice. So let's think about, okay, what is really needed? What's the question? You want to aim for the simplest possible way to get to where you want to get to. And accepting that that's the reality of what we are doing and why we want to do what we are.
And plenty of times things just don't work, right?
They do, and it's okay. Sometimes you're ahead of the time. Sometimes you will have there's 10 other people doing better job than you. And then you go, okay, they know more about it than I do. I am not getting into that.
Yep.
And that's okay too, right?
Yep.
Not a lot of us tend to do that, and it's something we should accept.
Okay, you were SBIE president which year?
2022.
2022. Tell us about that. Did you like being president?
I loved being president.
Why?
I connected with a lot of people globally beyond biophotonics and biomedical optics. That was something that I would not have had a chance otherwise. Whether they were people doing work in astronomy or defense or semiconductor industry. Optics is used in a lot of different things. And so SPIE represents a lot of different communities globally, not just in the United States or just in our conferences, but whether I went to, I don't know, pick a country I went to Japan and was talking to some folks there, or I was going to India and talking to people over there, or Montreal. You met people in a community that, definition of NIR can be very different across the different communities,
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
And some people come up with EUV and you go, what's extreme UV, right?
Yeah.
And so I learned a lot. I reached a lot of people, I hope. I told in my first newsletter as president that came out, I told people, you see me, stop and say hi. That's what I wanted. I want to be accessible to the members. And I had people come and do that, and I really appreciated it. I also learned that all our challenges, no matter where we are and what community we are part of, are very similar. We're all looking for more students, or industry looking for more workforce. We all have challenges related to women being successful and rising up the ranks. There's limitations on what happens. Challenges around lower salary, challenges around childcare. Very similar challenges, no matter where in the world you are. And that was something that opened my mind, helped me grow, I think. And I loved working with the staff.
Yeah.
And SPI staff in general. They were great.
SPI's got a good staff.
Yeah. They were a lot of fun to work with, and I miss that. I used to have weekly meetings with a lot of them, and I miss that. I hope I made friends, and we meet every once in a while, but I miss that daily or almost weekly interactions.
Just for other people who might not know, you're SBIE president for a term of just 1 year, right?
Yes. So I ran for elections in 2019. So you find out, I was vice president for 2020, therefore. So you run, elections are usually held in June, July of that year. You usually run against one other person. So it's two people running against each other. And you find out in August to be vice president for year 1, president-elect for year 2, president in year 3, and immediate past president in year 4.
Okay.
So it's a 4-year presidential chain.
Okay.
And you have different responsibilities each year. But in the year you're president, you're essentially the ambassador for SPIE. You're the face, going out, meeting people. And 2022 was essentially right after the pandemic and recovery. So I was happy to put myself in the position of, have bag, will travel. Tell me where you need me to go to help rebuild our community and rebuild SPIE, and that's what I did.
Yep. And you like traveling.
I love traveling.
Yep.
It's something both Duco and I love doing, and going to new places is part of what makes life fun.
Okay, so you and I have been working together on this new project, SBIE Biophotonics Discovery. I'm the editor-in-chief, and you're a senior advisor, although I consider you a special senior advisor. You meet with me and the SBIE staff every 2 weeks, and we talk about new ideas. You bring in a lot of new ideas and help me think through ideas I have. And, the journal's been around for about a year and change. We're in the 2nd year of the journal. We're getting more submissions. But tell me a little bit about how you think the project is going and what you think we need to do next.
I think we still need to build our name. I think I'm starting to see more people recognizing the journal. I think we're starting to do that. But people aren't quite convinced yet to submit their papers, I feel, at least in the BIOS community. I look at Photonics West's BIOS community as our pool of folks who should be submitting. And we haven't quite reached it where they are wanting to come to BIOS. I think and that will take time. I recognize it will take time. It's kind of like when you teach a class for the first time, you've got to teach it 3 times before And I think we are sort of in that same rhythm. I think we need to keep working with conference chairs, speakers, and others to get folks to submit.
Yeah.
I do believe in the journal. This is why I agreed. Even though when I finished my presidential chain, I said I was done. It was time for the next generation. But this is the only thing I'm continuing to work with for SBIE and you, because I believe in what this journal can do.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to continue to connect with our community to encourage them to submit. Getting there, but it's slow, right? Everything is slow because there's so many journals.
There's so many journals, and there's a long lag time, right, between getting the message out and then getting submissions.
Yeah, exactly. I will add one thing that I think we need to emphasize even more. There are a lot of for-profit publishers.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the best things about SPIE's publishing is that it's for the community, by the community. The money goes right back into the community.
Right.
And I don't know that people realize that because they compare SPIE to any other publishing house. And I think we should be reminding folks, anything that comes out of this going right back into the community, whether that's travel grants for students or whatever it is.
Yep.
I've started to take that personally. So I insist, that my students first look at not-for-profit publishing houses, SPIE or some of the more clinical journals, if that's what it takes, before going after more for-profit. I am not a fan of the big, gazillion journals coming out of those houses.
Right.
And I mean, there's probably a place for it in the community. Clearly there is. But there's something to be said that our own papers benefit our own community. And I think that's important. And that's why I'm part of this. I truly believe that the diversity of bios is the field as a field. And this journal can help.
Yep.
So.
And let's just talk for a second about things that are coming up. So we have Discovery of the Year. This is something we're thinking about.
Yep.
Naming a discovery. So this is a technology or a translational effort that we'll name each year. That should be exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think that's a great way to recognize the community and what are big things that we are doing and discovering.
Yep.
Which we don't really have anything similar in the community. So completely agree. I'm excited about some of the special sections we're coming out with.
Yep.
The one, of course, that I'm personally involved with is the maternal health one, where we have that webinar coming up in May.
Yep.
If people should take a look and participate, I'd love to see a big showing for it. And as we pick and choose these topics, whether that's looking at skin tone and phantoms, I guess, or a global health, that's the idea, right? Bring that community together and show papers and showcase what we do in that area. It's a way, I think, for the world at large to see what's happening in a field.
Yep.
And that's why I'm excited about those. We did the 3-minute presentations at Photonics West. That was a lot of fun.
That's fantastic.
To see, and a lot of very young, talented biophotonics researchers presenting. That was a lot of fun.
Yep.
What else are we doing?
We're going to be involved in the Photonics West Sunday
plenary.
Yep.
Yes, the Sunday plenary. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Also on maternal health and related topics. Yeah.
If we connect our special section with the Sunday plenary and potentially showcasing the related conference, I think we're really highlighting a given field. Not that all the other fields are not important, but it's a way to really highlight what's going on in that work.
Yep.
And maternal health, interestingly, has a lot of young, talented researchers, up-and-coming researchers, and that's another reason why it's a great way to start. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, couldn't agree more. All right. So we're going to end now with what some might call a lightning round, but we're going to call a ballistic photon round.
Okay. You should know all about that.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, and you're going to keep your answers short, one sentence or less, and we're going to get to know you a little bit better. So Anita, what time do you go to bed?
Midnight.
Midnight? What time do you wake up?
Now, 6:37, 7:20.
Oh, that's not enough delta.
I know. That started when the kids were little, and unfortunately hasn't gone too much beyond about 7:20. This is what I woke up this morning.
Okay. That's just when you want to wake up. What do you read in the morning?
I read Apple News.
Yeah.
And I play a game or two of solitaire.
Oh, yeah?
Before I get started.
Okay. All right. We may have already answered this, but what do you think the most impactful discovery you've made in your career?
The parathyroid
Yeah.
autofluorescence by far,
Yep.
I think, because I also got to see the impact of it.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I
yes.
agree with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, who's your favorite all-time researcher in the biophotonics field? Dead or alive?
Bruce Stromberg.
Yeah?
Mhm.
Why?
He is such a kind human being, but also also brilliant at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
He knows everybody's his friend, doesn't matter what level they are. He's who I want to aspire to always be. Somebody who can relate to people. I know I'm not the way he is, but it's one.
Few are. Yeah, there's only one Bruce. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really somebody who is, that I've always looked up to.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
so.
fantastic. What's your favorite scientific conference?
Gordon Conference.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I
Mhm.
thought you'd say that.
Yep.
Although Photonics West is pretty good too.
I've gone to every Photonics West, and this year was my 33rd,
Mm-hmm.
34th.
Yeah.
So I've not missed any,
You haven't missed any?
despite having
That's
child.
good. We should start an
even when
award
I've
for that.
even when I've had my daughter,
Yeah.
I took her with me when she was
Mhm.
3.5 weeks old.
Mm-hmm.
So I have not missed.
Okay.
So,
Excellent. Okay.
so yes,
Favorite course you've ever taught?
taught.
Yeah. Well, it could be current course, but
That's a hard one. I taught a summer school in Brazil.
yeah.
And I actually been doing this to a bunch of different summer and winter schools about problem-based research. I like teaching about not developing a technology and then looking for an application, but the other way around, learning an application and developing something to solve that problem. So problem-based research and translation. And I've done a bunch of short courses around that.
Biophotonics specific or no?
Biophotonics specific for the most part. Some of them are not. They'd be more general. But I'd like for more students to learn to think that way.
Okay.
It doesn't mean you can't be a fundamental physicist, but it's also nice to then think about where's that going to go? What question am I going to be able to ask uniquely with that?
Yeah.
Discovery.
Yep. That's great. Although we're breaking our rules about the one center.
So I'll stop there.
Okay. All right. Favorite hobbies?
Besides travel, which I've already mentioned, reading romance novels.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's my way to maintain my sanity when things go all over.
Yeah. A distraction?
It uses a different part of my brain.
Mm-hmm.
Gets me really creative thinking. When I write a grant, I always have a novel next to me.
No kidding.
So I'll write for 30 minutes. I'll read for 15 minutes, and it keeps my juices flowing.
Okay.
So they were what helped me transition to this country, coming from India.
Uh-huh.
And that's what's kept me going despite all the things that go on in life.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Fascinating. Coffee, tea, or neither?
Neither. I don't drink anything caffeinated, including sodas.
No kidding. Okay. Beer, wine, liquor, or none?
Wine. Red wine.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. And are you going to retire ever? And if so, what do you want to do once you retire?
I am planning to retire in about 5 years.
Really? Okay.
The year I turn 63,
Why would you retire? Do
that? Vanderbilt has an early retirement benefit that allows you to, I think, 2 years of your salary lump sum when you give up your tenure. And then you can continue to teach or do research if you wanted to. You just give up your tenure. But I am planning to retire. I want to go.
The community needs to plan for this. I'm glad you're giving
They have 5 years.
Yeah,
they have 5 years. Okay. Because there are other things I want to do. I grew up being told engineering or medicine are my only two pathways.
Yeah.
Like, what if that wasn't the case and I could do something else?
Yeah.
Would I have become a creative writer or a photographer or, I don't know. I don't even, at that time, I wasn't even aware of all possible careers, I'm not a chemist, so I don't know that I would want to make wine, but wine is something I've developed as a passion of evaluating wine.
Measure wine?
Measure wine quality.
What's the right optical technique for?
I have been using Raman spectroscopy because I can get a biochemical fingerprint off it. And I've used it when I did my sabbatical in Australia to work with some folks there, the Australian Wine Research Institute.
Okay.
That's associated with the University of Adelaide. And
Was this the purpose of the sabbatical, or is this a side
no,
project?
that was definitely a side project. The
Okay.
purpose of the sabbatical was to work with Mark Hutchinson there at University of Adelaide
Mhm.
on some of the infrared nerve stimulation work.
Okay.
And he's a pain and neuromodulation expert.
Okay.
So, but when you're in Adelaide with 3 different wine regions, all within 45 minutes of each other,
Mhm.
I built the love and the enjoyment of what to do with wine besides drink it. Since my daughter went off to college
Mhm.
and I needed another hobby, that's
Mhm.
my third hobby. And so being there meant all the things, my science knowledge could be used for wine.
Mhm.
The other, you asked me what I wanted to do after retirement. I don't know if I'll do it, so I hesitate to say it. But I think I want to try to become a sommelier.
Okay.
Maybe even go all the way to master sommelier if I have the skills.
So tell people what a sommelier
A
is.
sommelier is somebody, you go through this course. There are 3 levels of being able to assess wine, recognize wine, recommend wine. Curator of wines, I guess, is another way to look at it.
Mhm.
I don't know if I have the palate and the nuances for that,
Mhm.
but I'd love to explore.
Okay. Okay.
So we'll see.
You may be the first technology-enabled sommelier, right?
Potentially,
Your
right?
spectrometer next to you.
Yeah,
Yes,
but have a little handheld spectrometer or connect it to my cell phone, and I'm also doing
Yep.
that.
Okay,
That'd be
excellent.
fun.
All right. I think let's leave it there. That's a great way to end it. Thanks
Absolutely.
so much. It was a great conversation,
Yeah,
Anita.
my pleasure.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with your colleagues. Your support helps us shine a light on the latest in biophotonics research. Stay curious, and we'll see you next time.